The first duty of government is to protect our rights.
It's our job to maintain the proper role of government in what we were tasked to do.
If you really want to doge, this is how you doge. You don't vote for bad legislation that expands government. Thank you.
Now we're talking about taxpayer money, and we're talking about accountability. It is their money. This isn't a government program we're actually spending on. We're actually giving it back to the people of Idaho.
There's other options for making our ballots more secure, such as using watermarks or putting holograms on the ballots.
And I think that that's what we need to look at more, is trying to get back to what we used to be, where our churches and our families took care of each other instead of relying on the state.
I asked the question rhetorically, if we gave them another $1 billion, they wouldn't be happy. Well, we've given them $2 more billion, and it's not enough.
We need to start making Idaho first. We need to start making America first.
Other states like Texas and Florida have enacted similar laws to address illegal immigration, both locally and in their communities. And Idaho has the right to protect itself when the federal government has failed to do that.
COVID presented us with quite the enigma. We didn't really know what it was or what to do, but that is no excuse to violate the rights of the citizens of the state of Idaho.
Say vote no on this and let the teachers teach and quit bringing in coaches to teach the teachers to teach, and let's get education going again in Idaho.
I don't know what's coming after this current administration for the feds, and we need this law because our federal laws on immigration have failed.
Mr. President, I think it's incumbent upon us to allow parents to use their hard-earned dollars to provide what's best for their children.
If I was looking at a business and I was looking at these figures, there would be heads rolling because this is unsustainable.
My concern is that the resilience of Idahoans who believe in self-reliance and self-responsibility will be eroded.
We need to be protecting our First Amendment rights, not inventing ways to slowly chip away at them.
The First Amendment and our freedom of religion, freedom of speech are our first liberties. They are so important. We don't have the rest without them.
Yeah, watch it.
Come on, guys.
Well, good morning, folks. Welcome to Idaho Signal. I'm Matt Edwards, and it is Monday in the great free state of Idaho. I'm so glad to have you back here. Hopefully everybody had a fantastic weekend. By all estimations, we are now smack dab in the middle of the legislative session. We're halfway through this wild rodeo. You got the bulls are still bucking. You got the clowns still trying to distract everyone. But let's be real. If you're a conservative in Idaho, things are looking up. The momentum is still on our side. And if we push through these crucial immigration bills, we start squeezing some more cuts out of those maintenance budgets and enhancement budgets, and we continue to shore up our God-given rights, this could be another banner year for our shared values, life and liberty. The kind of year that makes the left in Boise squirm and the rest of the country jealous. Think about what we've already tackled. You know, last year we passed through the Idaho Medical Freedom Act, and I just got word that down in Arizona, they're passing their own version, which is based off of Idaho's bill. It's fantastic. Plus, we had the school choice tax credit program that got passed last session, and it just came fresh off the Supreme Court with a total smackdown of a lawsuit that was brought against it by the unions and a sitting legislator. It was total victory, complete annihilation. And keeping that lifeline open for 5,000 families, over 6,000, I think now, that are ditching the public school indoctrination machine. So we've got pushes for property tax repeal to give homeowners a break from getting crushed. We've got Medicaid expansion that we need to roll back to end the dependency trap that's capping work hours. It's sapping productivity. We've got protections for homeschoolers with a constitutional amendment that failed last year and hopefully can come through again this year to shield them from overreaching busybodies. And then don't forget H602, which is the anti-Sharia bill that sailed through its hearing. It's a smart preventative stuff to keep foreign legal nonsense out of our courts without trampling religious freedom. Similarly, there's the Blaine Amendment hearings that we had, finally dragging this bigoted relic into the light to educate people on what's really at stake. That attempt failed this year, but we're just getting started. These are not fringe fantasies, folks. They're popular, principled stands that resonate because Idahoans are sick and tired of the establishment's half measures. Now, we add in last week's 1 week filing frenzy for the primaries. Talk about surprises. There wasn't so much big surprises in who's running, though we do have some fresh blood stepping up, but it's in who's not getting challenged, the positions that are not getting seeing any challengers. In this solid red Idaho, the GOP primary is the real election in most districts, and seeing incumbents coast through to the general without opposition, well, that's a sign that the base is consolidating around proven fighters and wants to continue winning. No more free rides for squishers. Voters are rewarding those who deliver, and it's forcing coalitions to tighten up. Speaking of which, watch how the groups are linking arms like a conservative Voltron, right? You've got the Idaho Freedom Foundation hammering fiscal restraint. You got Idaho Chooses Life defending the unborn. The Idaho Second Amendment Alliance guarding our gun rights. The Mountain State Policy Center is pushing smart policy. You've got the Idaho Family Policy Center protecting families from the cultural rot. And of course, here at Citizens Alliance of Idaho, we are rallying the grassroots. You even have the State Republican Party of Idaho getting into the mix, collecting signatures for the grocery tax repeal and mounting an effort to protect the unborn. We're all committed to these overlapping causes, the borders, the budgets, life, liberty, and showing up to back our conservative lawmakers, whether they're in the Gang of Eight caucus that are grinding through the details, the Idaho Freedom Caucus that calls out all the BS, or the broader House and Senate GOP caucuses that are steering the ship. This isn't infighting. It's synergy, folks. It's working. The old guard's divide and conquer game is failing because we are too busy pushing and winning together. Sure, the noise is loud. The media spinning every cut as a catastrophe. Progressives, the whalers out there in social media land, just complaining about all of the different things. But the pain and that the lobbyists are whispering, they're feeling it. But if we stay committed, and we stay committed to turning out if we stay committed to turning out our support, we can tune out the static. We can focus on the signal, on the real issues, the real victories, and we will end this second half stronger than the first. We need to pass these immigration bills and put Idaho families first, not illegals. We need to trim these budgets to keep revenues rebounding like they have been. Who knew tax cuts could work? Shocking. Do that, and Idaho cements itself as the freest state in the union. And folks, I can't imagine anything better than that. Maybe we'll make the headlines more than Florida. That's the whole point here, right? That's the whole point. Okay, let's head out to the House floor. They have been debating on some bills here. It looks like we have Representative Jeff Cornelius debating. We'll see what bill number this comes up. But they did start today with House Bill 711, which passed by a 58-9 vote. And this would have done what did 711 do? What's the maybe we can get the We'll listen to Jeff Cornelius, and I'll tell you what 711 was all about. Let's listen to Jeff Cornelius.
Other than the contracted garbage person in that area. And that's it.
For the motions, for debate on the motion. Hearing none, hearing no negative debate. Debate is closed. Question is House Bill 661 passed the House. Clerk will lock the machine. Members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Clerk will lock the machine, record the roll. 66 aye, 4 absent, excused. Majority having voted in favor of House Bill 661. House Bill 661 is passed. House. Correction of title.
No correction of title.
Hearing none, the title is
All right,
approved.
very good. Well,
Bill
as I was saying earlier, and thanks guys for having that up there. Senate Bill 711 that passed was the first bill that passed the floor this morning. This amends and adds to existing law to provide for alternative authorization for administrators and to authorize the use of funds for related mentoring. This was brought by Representative Hawkins, dealing with the administration in our public school system. So very good. Some of the bills that we're watching this morning on the House floor. There's one coming up on. Let's see, where is it? The civics program, which is House Bill 712, will it add to existing law to provide for the Idaho State Seal of Excellence in the civics program. So we have a bit of footage from that. We were going to show it to you last week, but it's going to, as it went through the hearing, Representative Ely presented it, and then we had Representative Hawkins with some good comments on that. So let's look at this bill that's going to be voted on the House floor today. I don't imagine it's going to get too much of a debate, but it's one of those things, folks, that we need to promote civics education. We need to get our kids involved. We need to get each other involved in civics, and so this is a great start here. Let's watch this.
Today, House Bill 0712 is basically the civics seal, the endorsement of a civics seal on a graduate. And this seal of excellence in civics is a voluntary program. There's nothing that requires anybody to do this. This is a voluntary excellence endorsement for a graduation diploma. And this certainly allows someone to put that on their diploma, which can be a credential that they use for, college applications and things like this. What is the requirements of this? As we walk through there's basically a list of requirements for performance and also the type of scholarship you pursue, making sure that you have a high enough GPA and that you go after certain civics classes. This GPA and these civics classes are going to be like your government classes and things like that. It also includes not only the performance in the type of classes that you take, but also doing some research work and also having specific volunteerism. And so going after these things, checking off the list of here, like a merit badge saying that we've done this, allows you to get that endorsement on your graduation diploma. Additionally, it also allows for special cords at graduation, red, white, and blue cords, that also designates performance in that, as well as certain schools can also be designated of excellence in civics if certain schools have a high enough performance of their students in this type of area. So it's just a voluntary program to go out there and allow people to have excellence in civics and be recognized for it. And with that, I ask for your passing and approval of this to go to the floor.
And like we said, it will be on the floor today. But before that, let's listen to Representative Hawkins speak kindly to this bill.
Short privilege. I've been involved in some form of political activity for over 30 years. And one of the things that strikes me, and especially as I got into a role like this one, not necessarily the chair, but just being involved as a legislator, the amount of times that our people come to the government to answer every issue for them. And what I really, really, really like about this is to begin to, on page two, line 25, civics-related work experience, and it lists a bunch of things that people can go out and learn to do. These are the things that our country was founded on and built upon. Nobody, especially in a state like Idaho that was so rural everywhere, nobody reached out other than to community, church, or other organizations, their neighbors, and they pulled themselves up and they all made it work. And somehow we've lost sight of that. And so I do truly enjoy this. This is really, really, really good.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's great. Like we said, we got to keep these folks engaged. A lot of good things there. One of the other bills that we missed last week was a presentation by Representative Rob Beiswinger. This turned into, this was an RS, I got printed, so it'll have a full hearing, but this turned into House Bill 780, dealing with extracurricular public school activities, namely sports, and whether or not a student can, if your school doesn't provide this sport to play in, that you're allowed to go to a different school to play that sport. Let's listen to Representative Beiswinger present this bill.
S, I'm get my numbers right here, 33413C1, regarding some student transfers into different sporting programs. Seems simple enough, but then I got some feedback last night that people would like to take a look and kind of see how it fits in with other things they're doing here. But basically the idea is here, this would ensure that students can play at school they attend. So kind of the idea is, if you're wanting to play, football at one school, but then like maybe you want to play baseball, but your school you're at doesn't have baseball there, you can go to the next district over and play baseball over there. It doesn't take away the IHSAA's ability to limit the eligibility of students. That stays intact there. This would be, I think, good for some homeschool, charter school students, people who are looking to have some flexibility on where they play sports is kind of the goal for this. So hoping to get a full hearing on this RS.
Okay, well, thank you. Representative Ehart.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good representative. Just to clarify, in case we do get a full hearing, so are you suggesting that a student could play basketball at one school, football at one school, and baseball at another school if the schools didn't provide the sports, if their home school didn't provide, if they didn't provide football, they play football at one, basketball back at their other, and because they didn't provide baseball, they could play baseball at another school?
Representative Beiswinger.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Ehart, I guess that would be an option the way I understand how this would work.
Yeah, so we'll have a full hearing on that. Sounds fascinating to me to be able to have those things available to students at other schools. I want to go back to the House floor. They're debating this AI bill, which is going to be fascinating. I wonder if they'll have some interesting debate on this because it's about the use of AI in government activity. And I believe the intent here is to make sure that they use AI that doesn't have any strong biases in one sense or another. And if you have used AI like I have used it, we've seen bias all over the place. And so I don't know how you can get rid of it. And if you can get rid of it, why don't we just have it all? Why don't we just have that be the normal? So let's listen to Representative Schertz here deliver this opening debate here on House Bill 687 for a bit and see if there's any other pushback.
The DEI bill regarding colleges, and we worked through that definition. This applies that definition and very simply ensures that anytime that our state government is procuring a product, an AI product, that it is unbiased, that it is truthful, and it's not being used in such a way where DEI principles are being forced onto our state workers in some unfortunate way. With that, Mr. Speaker, I'd ask for your green light, and we'll happily answer any questions.
Further motions or further debate on the motion? Gentleman from 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Would the gentleman from 9 answer a question?
Gentleman
from 9 yield to a question. Gentleman yields.
So my question is, I appreciate this bill, and I think this is really good, but I'm just wondering how we're going to verify with the way that these AI programs are embedded with their knowledge programs. They can actually be taught to lie to you about what their program directives are. So I'm wondering how the checks and balances of this will work. I'm not speaking against the bill in any way. I'm just have this question.
Jump from 9.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good gentlemen. So within the bill, we've created to ensure that any contract where we're procuring AI has these principles in it to make sure that there's a clear statement that they aren't using any DEI in their AI code. And if for some reason we find out later that they are, we can break the contract, we can get out of it, and also giving us the ability, if needed, to be actually able to look at the source code if we need to get to that point. But I think that covering those bases, and is anything ever going to be perfect? No, but that at least gives us a good start that if something goes wrong, we can get out of it, and for us, for our agencies to be proactive. Thank you for the question.
Further debate on the motion. Gentleman 25.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to ask a question, good gentleman.
The gentleman from 9 yield to a question.
Gentleman yields.
Gentleman yields.
Thank you. With the way that this bill has been structured, one of my concerns is about the contracts themselves and being able to contract, where I get the impression that it might hamstring some people from being able to go and contract with us due to proprietary technology they might have. Do you see this as being one of the aspects of your legislation could be impacted?
Jump 9.
Thank you, good gentleman. I don't foresee that, right? I foresee us being proactive about the procurement process and making sure that any DEI that we are actually procuring is unbiased. And I think that's a pretty simple ask from each and every one of us. We do not want DEI within any learning language model that our state employees are relying on to work. So I don't foresee that as a problem. I appreciate the question.
Thank you.
Further debate on the motion. Hearing none. Debate is closed. There's hearing no negative debate. Question is, House Bill 687 pass the House. Clerk will lock machine. Members cast vote. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote?
Well, that's an interesting mix of nays.
56 ayes, 11 nays.
Not much debate on that bill as it passes the House and heads over to the Senate, so maybe we'll have some more debate on that over there. It was a fascinating bill and a very fascinating topic, obviously, with AI. I have a feeling the next bill coming up here is dealing with another license plate that's going to be available in it's Representative McCann here is advocating on the behalf of an Appaloosa license plate. So we're gonna leave the floor, let them have at it as they most likely pass another license plate availability for you and I to put on our vehicles. Okay, let's do this. What were I lost my list here, guys. Where's my list? We had last week. You hate to want to just rail on people that they seem like nice people, right? They seem like really nice people, but the couple of Democrats in the Senate have a way with trying to shoehorn in that the plight of the people is so dire that after 5+ years of an increase in the state budget of 50 to 60%, that now that we're cutting 2, 3, 4, 5% over this year and next year, that there are people dying in the streets, literally. And so I just want you to know what I just want you to see some of these ridiculous arguments that are out there. Let's do Ward Engelking first. This is Senator Ward Engelking in JFAC last week. Watch this.
Senator Ward Engelking.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Attorney General Labrador. I want to tell you, I appreciate you being here and advocating for your staff and your employees. We haven't been able to hear that from some people, and frankly, at Town Hall last night, we had state employees in tears and saying they're going to be finding another job, they're picking up cans, aluminum cans. So I am just happy to see you here advocating for your employees, because these cuts are very, very challenging, and I think they're going to do great damage to our state. So thank you for being here.
Folks, imagine you just got through listening, and we played the full hearing last week. That's Attorney General Raul Labrador advocating on behalf of his department, talking about all the things that they've been able to accomplish, and advocating that his budget be restored, or at least in part, so that he can keep his staff available to continue to keep, to have zero backlog on the crimes against children tip line, to continue to fight for the laws and the things that are going on in Idaho that we've seen massive wins on. Attorney General Labrador has turned that office around, And I mean, look at that. Look at this. That's a cyber tip backlog for the Idaho crimes against children. That's just the tip for crimes against children, and that backlog is now down to zero because they have enough staffing to go around and enough of a plan to go around and follow up on all these tips and save these children, the ones where the tips lead to something. And so he was before JFAC advocating that some or all of the cuts that they were planning to give to his department be restored so he can continue. And I was on record last week saying that's the kind of stuff I want my tax dollars going to, is protecting children. That's a worthy cause. That is a proper role of government, is the Attorney General's office. Then you have Senator Ward Inkelking there talking about how state employees are now collecting cans, aluminum cans, and turning them in for money. Because they're afraid that their job is going to get cut because, I don't know, they work at the Human Rights Commission, or they work at the the Health and Welfare Division, or in the Library Division, or in the Historical Society, like all these other like non-essential parts of government that are getting cut as they should in order to give the money back to the people. And she's talking like the sky is falling. Oh, they're so upset and they're collecting cans. Her partner in crime, Senator Melissa Wintrow, had a similar tale where she spoke of how state employees are now going off and selling plasma. They're selling their plasma so that they can. And look, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to make light of these people's situations, but you shouldn't be in the employ of the state of government and expect to like move up the chain and become wealthy and rich. You do that in the private sector, right? I mean, I thank you for your service in taking a government job, but when you realize that your government job is non-essential to government, you've got to have a backup plan, and it shouldn't just be plasma and collecting cans, if that even stuff is even happening. So I'm sorry. I like these crocodile tears. Is that what they call them? Crocodile tears coming from the Democrats as they try and advocate for all these other, this bloated spending, 50 to 60% over the last 5 to 6 years, and that includes all the COVID spending that happened. That's not around anymore, thankfully. I mean, what a waste. Anyway, you guys know what the situation is we're in. Okay, we hope to have Senator Phil Hart on a little further into the show to talk through a situation regarding judges. Judges, do you ever go and wait and go to the voting booth and looking at the list of judges who to vote for, and you're like, I don't even know anything about these guys, and you just have your own rule. Maybe you don't vote, maybe you only vote no, or you always vote yes, whatever the case may be. Hopefully we'll be able to get Senator Phil Hart over here and talk through some of that issues, and we'll get that going. But first, we're going to take a short break. When we're back, hopefully Brian Allman will be able to join us, and we will go through some of the filings that happened last week. It was filing period to run for state office or statewide office. We'll be right back.
And that's exactly what happened. You want to pull the tape? You can pull the tape because we now got video.
Idaho's Republican governor signed the bill to reduce her income tax rate, but Jim Guthrie voted against it. Our governor signed the Idaho Medical Freedom Act, but Jim Guthrie voted against it. Our governor signed the school choice bill, but Jim Guthrie voted against it. Our governor signed bills ending taxpayer-funded soda and junk food, removing DEI from our universities, and outlawing pride flags being flown on government property. And Senator Jim Guthrie voted against all of it. Who does Jim Guthrie really represent? Because it certainly isn't you.
Paid for by Citizens Alliance of Idaho.
Idaho is the dirt under your fingernails after an honest day's work. Idaho is the hug around your neck when your daughter spells her first word. Idaho is the written word of the law, steadfast and impartial, guarding liberty for all. Idaho is the family rifle passed down, a legacy of protection and the right to stand firm. Idaho is the echo of your own voice, unshaken and free, standing tall among the world's silenced. Idaho is the home that's built to weather storms, not empty wallets. Idaho is the quiet trust between a patient and healer, unbroken and sacred. Idaho is the hymn carried by the Spirit, gathering neighbors together in faith and purpose. Idaho is the laughter around a campfire, a family's bond growing stronger with every word. Idaho is the pioneer's will, firm and clear. We govern ourselves, free and unbound. Idaho is what America was. Let's keep it that way. Ask your legislator to sign the Citizens Alliance of Idaho pledge to preserve our shared values. We ride together.
Okay, folks, we got something we want to share with you. It's kind of cool. I think it's very cool. It's cool for us. It's cool for me because it's going to be way easier for me to keep track of a lot of these bills. But live on the website soon, we'll get the link up there, up in the top menu there in a moment later today. But we just kind of want to show you this. This is the 2026 bill tracker. Everybody's got a bill tracker, and here is CAI's version. Check it out. You can sort by House and Senate bills. And if you, there you go. And if you just scroll through, they're all numerically ordered. You can open them up, read through the statement of purpose. You can see the fiscal notes, see who the sponsor is. And, it's like any other, really well laid out bill tracker, looking really nice. But here's the key thing, because this is Citizens Alliance of Idaho, and we care about our pledge. And so if you toggle on the collapse uncategorized bill there, you will see which bills so far deal with the pledge. And so each one of the pledge points is shortened there to give you the category of what bill number it falls under. And so, for instance, let's see, what is that? What is in the what was at the top there? Due process. A lot of this stuff is due process, folks. But election integrity. Yeah, so you can see there in the green it says election integrity. So that bill deals with election integrity. So that'll be a bill that we're looking at and that we're focused on, because at Citizens Alliance of Idaho we have our pledge, and we're looking forward to seeing our legislators who have signed the pledge vote for or against these specific bills. But we do look at all of them; they're all up there. And then the other cool feature too is that if you're interested to see what's coming up next, is you just toggle on the what's coming up. Look at that, and then it shuffles around to see what's coming up in a hearing or what's coming up on the floor. Right there in red, it tells you when and where it will be heard. So if you're wondering when something is coming up, that is going to be your toggle, your switch, your button, whatever you want to call it. That's how you can categorize and list the bills out to see what's coming up in both the House and the Senate, regardless of whether or not you have the issues turned on as well. So that's the Citizens Alliance of Idaho bill tracker. We'll have that button up over there later today, so you can go check it out. And if you have any feedback, we would love to hear it. So send us an email at signal@citizensallianceidaho.com. All right, let's bring in Senor Allman. Mr. Brian Allman is with us. Happy Monday, sir. Yes, last week was among all the other things that were going on, it was filing week in Idaho. Explain to the people what that means.
All right. Good morning, or it's just about afternoon over here in the Treasure Valley. So this year, the Secretary of State's office split the filing week. So for those people filing for federal, statewide, or legislative offices, that was last week, and it was only 1 week. But as Secretary McGrain has told us, they did introduce the new online filing system. So you didn't have to come down to the Capitol and go into the Secretary's office and file. You could just do it online, which made it a lot easier. And we saw a lot of filings in the last half hour on Friday last week. County, local, district, municipal, and precinct committeeman races are open today, and it will go for 2 weeks. And you can also file online. So if you're running for PC, get that in and get that done.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of last week, like you said, state legislative offices and the statewide offices like governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and so forth. I think one of the biggest surprises was looking at those statewide offices, and at least as far as the Republican primary goes, only one of those seats had challengers.
Yeah. If you're watching this and you were around back in 2022, the statewide Republican primary that year was pretty crazy. Lots of folks going for a lot of seats. Remember, Raul Labrador was challenging the incumbent attorney general. Governor Little had two strong opponents. There were multiple people going for the lieutenant governor spot, the secretary of state spot. The superintendent of public instruction had three strong candidates. This year, it's crickets basically, and we've watched this over the past few months, because really, if you're running for a statewide office in Idaho, you don't just start your campaign on February 27th. You have to have been raising money and getting your name out there for months, if not an entire year before this. And that's what was happening in 2022. Everybody who was running had already been running for months at this point. This year, really not many people. Of the 7 statewide elected offices, only 6 of them have Republican primary challenge, or only one of them has Republican primary challengers. 6 have nothing. So Lieutenant Governor Bedke, Attorney General Labrador, Secretary of State McGrain, Superintendent Critchfield, Controller Wolf, and the Treasurer Julie Ellsworth, they have won their nomination. They have no opposition in the primary, and they will move on to the general against some Democrats. Now, there are some challengers to the governor. Everybody wants to get their name on the ballot for governor. They think this is the year that some unknown person is just going to take the state by storm. I'm skeptical, but we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, and to be fair, there's some usual names that you see running for governor in the Republican primary, but I think one of the more well-known names among the challengers to Governor Little is Mark Fitzpatrick, the owner of the Old State Saloon down in your neck of the woods, down in Eagle. Yeah. And he was just up here in Kootenai County at the Lincoln Day meeting people, so he's definitely going out there and making a run for at least getting his name out there. Whether or not he has all that he can do all he can in these final 7 or 8 weeks, or so before the primary, it remains to be seen. But Governor Little does have currently right now President Trump's endorsement, so it seems pretty solid that Governor Little will ride into a third nomination for his party. In terms of the other offices as well, I failed to mention it, but we had one of the Senate races is also up for election, as well as every 2 years you have the congressional races too. So Representative Russ Fulcher and Representative Mike Simpson both filing as well. And those all generally have challengers too, but it seems as though those folks are in the bully position as incumbents and will most likely make it to the general.
That's right. Especially in the Senate, it is very, very difficult to unseat an incumbent senator, because they're there for 6 years. They build up a lot of relationships, get a lot of donations, build up a pretty powerful machine. It's very rare to see an incumbent senator lose. It does happen once in a great while if said senator has done enough to really alienate a lot of his voters. I'm not sure that's the case here, but you've got some challengers who think that they're going to give it a shot. And of course, like you said, the 2 congressional districts. District 1 is North Idaho, and basically you draw a line down kind of halfway through, and everything on the west side is District 1. Everything on the east side is District 2. So District 1 is Congressman Fulcher, District 2 is Congressman Simpson, and that line actually goes right through Boise to try and split that population center. It's about a mile from my house. So yeah, those will be some races. As with the governor's race, I don't necessarily expect any real, changes to happen, but we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah. All right. So then let's get to the meat of the matter, the legislative races. We'll do a more in-depth look at all of the districts and how they line up. But what are some of the big highlights? What are some of the big surprises? Like I mentioned in our open today, there wasn't so many surprises. The biggest surprises were the races that weren't being contested. And some of that still holds true in the legislature too.
Yeah, for sure. again, if you're really mounting a serious challenge, then you've been raising money and campaigning for months now. And if you raise money and campaign, you have to file a treasurer's report. So, it's public that you're doing this. But there were a few surprises. Over in District 8, Senator Christy Zito actually has two challengers as of now. The withdrawal period goes this week. So if you have these three-way races, you could see somebody withdraw to make the two-way race. So, don't count your chickens yet. But Senator Zito faces two former legislators. Terry Gestrin was in the legislature a couple of years ago and then kind of got bumped out due to redistricting after 2020. Meanwhile, Megan Blanksma, she was the House Majority Leader, but then lost her position due to some power struggles in the 2024 session, and then lost her seat to Representative Faye Thompson, and now she's thrown her hat in the ring to go after that Senate seat. So that was not really a surprise. I and many other people expected to see Blanksma jump in, but it was right at the last minute. So I guess there was some
I didn't
there.
expect her to jump into and cause it to be a three-way race. I mean, you've got strong far right conservative Christy Zito against basically a couple of moderates, perhaps. Blanksma probably maybe more on the progressive side than Gestrin, but it seems to me here that if you're a conservative, if you're a hardcore conservative, you're looking at that ticket going, my girl hasn't changed a bit,
right,
in that race. So that's really good. What are some of the other races that we expected to have a challenger and we don't see any?
That's in my little article the other day, I wrote about how some of the biggest surprises were the dogs that did not bark. In District 13, you had Brian Lenny, Senator Lenny. He got in the legislature for the first time in 2022 by defeating the incumbent, Jeff Eigenbrod, by 15 points. He came out of nowhere and just crushed him. Eigenbrod, came back for a rematch in 24, and Lenny beat him again by double digits. Eigenbrod had actually filed a C1, a treasurer's report, saying he was planning to run for this seat again, but when it came down to the time to file, he apparently declined to do so. So that was a little bit of a surprise. Senator Lenny now is free and clear until the general election. And, Nampa being a heavily Republican district, he will likely enter his third term. The other big one that jumped out to me was in District 10. Mike Moyle, the Speaker of the House, he's been representing Star for 28 years in the legislature. He's been there, forever, longer than some of our legislators have been alive, I think. And
I don't think
obviously
I don't know if you're
he's
there yet, but.
I forgot exactly how old Senator Cole is.
That's
he's
true.
pretty close.
Yeah.
So, obviously Moyle's been the flashpoint of a lot of conflict. Some people see him as somebody they can work with. Others see him as an impediment to conservative policy, and it's generated a lot of passion, a lot of emotion. And so I expected to see somebody file, anybody, but it turns out nobody wanted to take on the speaker, and so he's looking like he will sail through to a 15th term. Whether that means he'll be speaker next year, of course, anything can happen. But all three of the legislators in District 10, Representative Bruce Skog, Speaker Moyle, and Senator Tammy Nichols, none of them have primary challenges this time, which I guess just goes to show how firmly they've consolidated their positions there, and also how red that district really is. District 10 is Star, Middleton, North Nampa. That's one of the stronger districts in the state, I would say, as far as Republicans are concerned.
Yeah. And then going out east, we're seeing a larger mount effort by the Democrats. It looks like a lot of Democrats have filed to run in their Democrat primary for legislative seats as well, whether they're being challenged or not. Doesn't I think most of them don't have challenges. Like there's going to be big fights for a lot of the Democrat seats or Democrat nominations in the East, but the fact that there are Democrats stepping up in the Eastern Idaho to take on Republicans, that kind of signals something a little bit.
Yeah, exactly what it signals, I'm not quite sure yet. Trying to figure that out. I know that you and I and others who are more on the conservative side of the spectrum have often been frustrated by Eastern Idaho. The legislators will seem conservative in one area, but then pretty moderate or progressive in others. Such as with government subsidies and school choice and public school libraries and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see where those voters go. Obviously, the population centers, Pocatello is one of the few districts in the entire state that's a battleground. Right now, they have 2 Republicans and 1 Democrat. And so that could flip either way. But yeah, throughout the rest of Eastern Idaho, it'll be interesting to see if these Democrat candidates gain traction and if the voters there are going to consider voting Democrat instead of voting for their usual Republicans.
Yeah. And speaking of Democrats, up north, one of the more interesting races I think it's going to be is against Elaine Price, but it'll be not in the general. It'll still be in the primary, because one of the leading voices of the Women for Biden, somebody who was greatly inspired by Kamala Harris, is one Krista Hazel, who has filed to run as a Republican against Elaine Price. So what do you make of that?
I don't know. You know, North Idaho in some ways is it's also a complex situation, just like Eastern Idaho. And for somebody like me down in the Treasure Valley, both can seem a little bit foreign sometimes. I do know the North Idaho Republicans, their entire, they somehow have some cachet with some people up there, but their entire platform seems to be opposition to actual Republicans. And of course, Ms. Hazel there has been very vociferous and open with her opinions about supporting Biden, supporting Kamala Harris, opposing Trump, opposing the KCRCC, opposing, and now here she is opposing Representative Price, who's one of, in my opinion, a terrifically strong conservative Republican. Very, very good on fiscal matters. She's on JFAC, really holding the line there on the budget. So what's the point of this? And why file as a Republican if you're, essentially a Biden-Harris voter? At some point you have to ask what do you actually believe about the Republican platform? Is it just the easiest way to get elected, or what do you agree with? What do you disagree with? And if you're more comfortable with Kamala Harris than Donald Trump, if you're more comfortable with the local Democrats than the local Republicans, then I don't know, maybe you're in the wrong party. Just wondering.
Yeah, look at that. This is Krista Hazel's post. She put this up. She's got a Biden-Harris 2020 anti-Trump signs in her yard as early as, I guess it could have snowed in. Actually, it did snow in October, so this wasn't during the winter of that year. But so this is the woman challenging Elaine Price in the Republican Party, folks. This is what it's all about. Maybe she's a neocon. She was all for Nikki Haley too, I believe, during the caucus year and stuff. So it's just a big mess. But whatever. But this is all about voter education, folks. So just take a look at that and remember that. Really wild.
I don't expect Representative Price to have any trouble. She's really proven her bona fides, and I think her voters will see that.
I would hope so. But it is Coeur d'Alene, and there is a growing consensus in Coeur d'Alene of folks who fall on Krista Hazel's side. And Krista Hazel's been up here for a while. She was on the school board for years as well. So she definitely would probably most likely have the big education lobby behind her. And when you've got this, the school choice parental tax credit that went through, it was. It could draw a lot of attention to that. So I don't necessarily discount her, but we're certainly it's certainly going to be a lot of fun to watch that. Okay, what do we got on deck, guys? We got a boost. Folks, it's time for a signal boost. Brian Allman, this week, House Bill 745, the teachers union bill, will be on the floor to debate as early as tomorrow, folks. So we need you to call up your representatives and have them vote yes. Vote yes on House Bill 745. This is the no taxpayer funding for government unions. The QR code up in the corner there will bring you right to the standings page where you can look up your representative and send them an email, give them a call, and tell them to please vote yes on House Bill 745. Brian, this is a bill that we've seen come up a number of times. It passed the House before, and it got stopped in the Senate. But do you want to give a little refresher on this bill as well, in your perspective?
Yeah, and this bill is near and dear to my heart. I carried a resolution to the Idaho GOP this just last month, or 2 months ago now. It's March now, back in January, to support this legislation, and it passed unanimously, no opposing debate on it, because first of all, there's a few issues at work here. The National Teachers Union is very much opposed to our values, and they are putting a lot of money and a lot of pressure to put forward things like DEI and radical gender ideology. During COVID, they were wanting, schools locked down and, children put in boxes, or however they were trying to do that, masked up. The teachers union is, they give like 99% of their support to Democrats. And even here in Idaho, they give most of their support to Democrats, but they'll pick some Republicans who they think are the most progressive and pro-union Republicans. So there's that we're supporting this organization that is incredibly contrary to our values. And then the second side is that it's a private organization that is essentially getting taxpayer subsidies. They put in their contracts that, say the union president can get 30 days of paid time off every year to go do union activities. And that includes going down to the Capitol and testifying on behalf of the union against good legislation like school choice. As you know, the teachers union, the Idaho Education Association, actually sued the state of Idaho, the families of Idaho, because of that school choice bill. And of course, they lost 5-0 in the Supreme Court. But now they're on, they're taking those taxpayer funds and spending them on lawyers. There's also, it might be a little thing, but the union gets automatic paycheck deductions. So the teachers who are part of the union, their money just gets taken out of their paycheck, just like their income taxes and their social security taxes and their union dues. Why should school districts, taxpayer supported school districts, be facilitating this for essentially a private organization? What if somebody belonged to the NRA or the Republican Party? Can we get school districts and other employers to just automatically deduct dues to organizations like that? I think if it were any other organization, people would be up in arms. So this really isn't about punishing the teachers union so much as treating them like any other private organization. If teachers, members of this union want to give extra money to them, or if they want to go do union activities, they can do it on their own dime instead of getting the taxpayers to subsidize it.
Yeah, we did see a lot of pushback in the hearing about how they get reimbursements, they get to the union will reimburse the district or the school for these things and that things, but that has to be when the teacher themselves says, I'm going to go do union activities. That doesn't have to happen all the time. I mean, it's like an honor system, and then you have some districts that are paying a little bit extra on top of their teacher salary that they call, I don't know what they call it. I don't know what they're professional, to help professional development. They'll call it like, oh, here's a professional development stipend, and it just so happens to coincide with the amount of money that they pay their dues to the union. So that is literally taxpayer dollars going to the unions. And then I'd like to add just one more element. There's many teachers out there who get very apprehensive about saying, I don't want to be in a union, because they don't want to be treated horribly by all the other union members in there. And so they just allow themselves to be in a union and have their paychecks automatically deducted. If you don't have that automatic deduction, then you actually have to write a check or set up some sort of direct deposit or something so that you can send the money yourself to the union yourself. And if you're doing that in the privacy of your own home, then maybe you don't want to sign up for a union and you say, I'm going to go out of it. I also believe that there's something called financial corp, where you can declare yourself FICOR. You can say, I don't want to pay any dues to the union and lose all of your voting rights in the union, but still maintain union protection by not paying that portion of the dues that go to political activities. So there's a lot of things in here that people can do that unions don't. They're such bullies that they don't inform their members of their rights and so forth. And this is a right to work state too, which means you don't have to be in a union. So this is a very important bill, folks. So please contact your legislature, learn a little bit more. It's House Bill 745, and contact your representatives. Last word on this, Brian?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you've been around a while, you might remember Scott Walker, the governor of Wisconsin. he took on the teachers unions in his state. He made it so that teachers weren't automatically enrolled. They would have to choose to actually be part of the union and give their dues to these unions. The unions fought back horribly. They even tried to recall him. They got a recall on the ballot, and he won again because, if the narrative is you're going after teachers, nobody likes that. Everybody loves their teachers, their child's teacher in their local community. If the narrative is we're going after a government union that is bilking the taxpayers, then I think most people support that.
Yeah, very good. All right. Well, folks, the House and the Senate have both adjourned for the day. We're going to stay on the air a little bit longer. We hope Senator Phil Hart can join us to talk about judges. And I know the judges in this state, actual judges who sit on the court that get elected or supposed to get elected, is something that you have also been working on, Brian. You wrote extensively on this issue, and I think you were working with a legislator on trying to develop some sort of educational platform that people can go to understand what they're voting on if they do decide to vote on judges. How do you judge a judge? How do you figure out who you're voting for? And are these people even getting elected, or are they just being appointed? What's your stance on what's going on with the way judge positions are filled?
Yep, it's the third branch of government. The judicial branch is equally important and powerful as the other two branches, but it's so mysterious and it's so far removed from information for voters. Technically, judges in Idaho are elected from the Supreme Court to the district courts to the magistrates who are below the district courts. However, those elections are usually not competitive. I wrote this a couple months ago, and I've been working with Senator Tammy Nichols on a project to try and get some information out, and also some folks up in North Idaho. For my part, it's kind of been on the back burner. The session's pretty busy. But you have, I focus in this article that you've got up there, I focused on the Supreme Court, the Idaho Supreme Court, 5 members, and they're all technically elected. But only one of those 5 members currently was actually elected. That was Justice Robin Brody. Because back in the mid-2010s, there was a vacant seat. Jim Jones, Jim Jones, had been the Chief Justice. He retired at the end of his term, and so that created a vacancy. 2 people ran for the seat. Robin Brody won, and so she's been on there since. What happens usually is that the incumbent will retire halfway through their term or partway through their term. And then the governor chooses somebody based on a list given to him by the Judicial Council, which is made up of retired justices, sitting justices, lawyers, people from the state bar, various people. And so it's a very constrained and controlled list. And then once that person is appointed, then they run for re-election and are almost always unopposed. So yes, technically they get elected by the voters, but there's no opposition because who wants to go oppose a sitting Supreme Court justice or a sitting district court judge? And then at the lower levels, at the magistrate levels, the people who handle the everyday court stuff, traffic tickets and small claims and such, they go on the ballot, but they're appointed by the district judges, and then they go on there as a retention election. Should the voters retain magistrate so-and-so, yes or no? And they almost always win by about 66 to 33 because you get, a third of the people just vote no on principle because they have no idea. Nobody really has any idea what's going on. It's hard to judge a judge. It's hard to judge their conduct or judge the way they've ruled on things because that requires a lot of understanding about the legal system and the cases they've faced. So it's a very opaque, mysterious process, and there's all sorts of ideas for reform out there. And I'm hoping you get Senator Hart on there because he had a very interesting idea that I think is worth discussing.
Yeah, there is a tendency for the average everyday person to hear about a case, especially at the Supreme Court level, where you're for that issue or you're against that issue, and it's being decided before the court, and whichever way the court decides is whether or not this thing is going to be legal or not moving forward. And sometimes it gets struck down or decided in a way that goes against what you hoped for. But if you really take the time to read through the law and figure out what was the reason why, sometimes you realize, oh, that did run counter to another principle that we hold dear. And so we have to figure out a way around it. And so that's, to me, I feel like that is usually the hard part about the judges, is like you almost have to read cases and cases and cases to figure out what the pattern is with the judges at that higher level. I mean, if you have a judge who can who can be up for an election, who's like letting out 12th time DUIers, over and over and over and over again. I feel like at that point you're kind of like, how is this person still in office? Can we get rid of them? And then you try and get, and then you work it through the ballot. But
that sounds pretty specific.
Yeah, and well, it's happened, as you know. But to your point, how did that person get there anyway? It's usually because of an appointment, not because they were voted in based on their record. So very important stuff here. We hope we can rebook Senator Phil Hart so he can walk us through a couple of the bills that the judges absolutely don't like, and maybe even some prosecutors as well. We've seen how those relationships can be very, very tight as well. All right, Brian, what is coming up for you this week? What are you hoping to pay attention to, and where can people follow you?
Well, at Brian Ullman on X, gemstatechronicle.com. I'm working on I'm bringing back what I used to call the primary pulse. It's kind of information about all the Idaho Republican legislative candidates. And of course, covering the session, there's all sorts of stuff is happening fast and furious now. They should be finishing up with print hearings, and now they're going to work on getting bills across the rotunda and to the governor's desk. So I'll be getting as much of that as I can.
Yeah, and if you see anything in the in these county or PC races and all that, you flag that stuff for us. We want to follow the nitty gritty that's going on in these local races. Very important stuff. Very important stuff. All right, Brian, good to see you. We'll check back in with you tomorrow. All right. Excellent. All right, folks, and we want to hear from you. 208-402-4915 is the number to call. Leave us your voicemail, 60 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever you got. It'd be great to have you call in. We'll play your voicemail on the air. Leave your name and what town you're calling from, so that way we can maybe even help direct your message to the right legislature if you've got an issue that you need taken care of. It's so great to hear from you. It's so great to get your emails. I've talked to a few of you over the last couple of weeks here as you reach out. There's our YouTube channel. We're creeping up on 8,000 subscribers. Can you believe it, guys? I'm telling you, when we started this session, we were at 2,000, and now we're creeping close, just a couple hundred shy of 8,000 subscribers over there on YouTube. So I thank you so much for helping the show continue to grow. And if you just want to listen to us, the show goes on loop, audio only, 24/7 throughout the week. IdahoSignal.live. And AmericanSmokeCo.com is where you can get some of the fantastic smoked salts. I don't know anybody else who does this, folks. This is a unique way to add smoke flavor to your meats naturally. That is Pacific Coast sea salt, smoked for hours and hours on end with various types of wood, and you can pick up yours at AmericanSmokeCo.com. This past weekend, it was the Lincoln Day, the big Lincoln Day up in Kootenai County, also celebrating America's 250. There's me and my wife as we took a fantastic photo at the Kootenai County Central Committee's Lincoln Day. That's a view inside the room. It's packed. I think it's the largest in the state, folks. The largest. I'd say I'd put the room at like 900 folks. We had some great debates from three 17-year-olds presented a speech, and we got to vote on who was the best. It was really good. What was that? Dorothy Moon was in attendance. Look at those beautiful statues. They were auctioning off those eagle statues that are on the dais there. Fantastic stuff. Really nice to see. So there's the chairman, Brent Reagan, auctioning off some silver. Really great time. All right, folks, we will see you. Oh, there were protesters out there, too. There were some protesters out there, too, going wild. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you guys. These people are nuts.
On the Pirates route. Golden potatoes, farmers stand strong. Cattle and dairy, they're feeding us all. From boys and nights with the bright city glow. Secure the lanes, calm waters below. Buddy, buddy waves with a smile so wide. Sharing our story with American pride. So raise that flag, let freedom fly. Echo liberty from plains to mountains high. America's heart beats red, white, and blue.
have a sovereign right to protect what's ours.